Hi everyone, welcome to Reflections. Today I'm reflecting on toxic relationships and a resource that can help you think about your own experience. For many people who know me, know that I worked in and managed mental health and wellbeing services for over 20 years. In the last few years, I did some corporate work and I designed, set up and delivered a mental health and wellbeing service aimed at women who'd been in domestic abuse relationships. I'm well familiar with domestic abuse because I worked in local authorities and NHS England for over 20 years and came into contact with a lot of women through social care through a variety of projects that we created there. So this is just a short video to introduce one of the conversations that I'm going to be having over the months about toxic relationships. Now, the terms like psychopathology, toxic relationships, narcissism, narcissistic personality disorders are terms that are bandied about fairly freely these days. There's lots on YouTube about what those terms mean, but it's incredibly difficult to diagnose anyone with narcissistic personality disorder or psychopathology. In fact, it was Robert Hare who created a diagnostic tool when he was working in, I'm just looking for it actually, the title of the book, when he was working in prisons with psychopaths early on in his career. And he talks about some of the key things that appear and behaviors and traits in sociopaths and psychopaths. However, as he says, there are lots of people who are walking out there running successful businesses and in relationships that may well fit aspects of that profile. So we have to be really mindful that we don't try and diagnose anyone. We can only ever really understand our own experiences and what feels right and not right for us. So there are lots of forums on there. Are they? I'm not sure they're actually useful for a lot of people to be talking through their experiences with their partners. Because one of the aspects of doing that, if you do that for too long, it keeps your focus on the person that you're trying to separate from, the one that's caused you the most amount of pain. And one of the biggest things that we can give to ourselves in our own self-care journey when we're leaving situations, people, and places that have been toxic is to find the tools and skills to actually bring a better experience into our lives, like joy and happiness. If we place our focus on the memories and the experiences that we've had too much, which there is a place for that, there's a place for that in therapy, in DBT and CBT groups, dialectical behavioral therapy, in work with people who understand these things on a really deep level. But one of the biggest things we give to ourselves is actually understanding ourselves and how we arrive at certain situations in our lives and what we do when we're faced with certain behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, and challenges, and how we move forward from that. I'm not proposing either way that something is wrong or right, but anything that is detrimental to your mental health and well-being over a long period of time will make a massive impact into your own health and well-being, your physical health, and also influence your capacity to function at work and function as a parent, and even cut you off from your life source and your vitality. I'll go into more detail in coming videos as time goes on, as different thoughts in myself are activated and that I want to share. But I wanted to share this book that I got hold of a while ago, and it's called How to Leave Your Psychopath. It's actually written by Maddie Anholt. So it's Anholt. And she's actually works and born in the UK. And this is a book that's brilliant, that helps many people learn how to recognize what an abusive relationship is. It kind of goes much further on from the work that Women's Aid has done. There's lots of reports out there about how to recognize an abusive or toxic relationship, but Maddie actually ended up in a relationship with a very abusive partner. And she says that after more than a decade spent tumbling from one controlling relationship to another, Mandy Anhole was finally able to break the cycle. She set out on a path of self-discovery Learn how to spot the red flags, recognize controlling traits, and distinguishing narcissistic and psychopathic personality types. Ultimately, to emerge blinking into the daylight, into a healthy life. Now, Maddie is on a mission to share her findings and provide tools to help you set yourself free. Whether you are hoping to gain insight into your own relationship or want to help someone else, this is a comprehensive handbook to escape coercive control. That is something that we've become more aware of, very difficult to detect, because manipulation and coercive control are in all aspects of life. So she's also put her own psychometer and how to leave your psychopath, enable you to understand why you keep repeating patterns in your relationships, romantic or otherwise. Because of course, it's not just in relationships where we meet toxic people and coercive patterns of control. Narcissists exist in every aspect of society, and often many of us have had a manager or a colleague that has exhibited those traits, or nasty experiences, or even been run over by our colleagues while they're trying to get the work promotion and demonizing us in the process. So yes, I have, as you can tell, some of those experiences. So I know there's lots of books out there, but I felt she goes into a lot of detail about the partner that she met. And actually, Maddie was a very successful woman in her own right, and the partners that she came into contact with equally were. But she also talks about some of the really difficult to identify experiences in really interesting terms to help you understand some of the sort of micro behaviors that start to come through. Maddie's a comedian, actor, and writer, and women's aid ambassador, and has appeared in many sitcoms. So look her up and get yourself either a copy of this or an ebook. I've got an ebook coming out soon about relationships, both something about healthy relationships and toxic relationships. And if you want to find out more, just look out for the link as I post that one of my next posts. It's really just to help people think about all the different strands that come through the sort of early relationship warnings. And I think one of the things that we're doing a disservice to is young people thinking about what a healthy relationship looks like and how that's established from our very early relationships, and how our behavior is formed often through the experiences we've had in our own lives. If we've only ever known drama, violence, and treating people with disrespect, and really not showing love in healthy ways, then ultimately that will affect every relationship we come into contact with. So yeah, like I said, there's lots of information out there, and I'm going to put some links to some of the people that I think do some really good work in this area, because we need to get past the romanticized notions of relationships and being able to work out how do we deal with the nitty-gritty aspects of two individual people that come together, and when is it time to really just walk out that door and never turn back, and when is it time to go to a relationship therapist, because there are lots of relationship therapists that are duped by toxic partners when they go into therapy. It's not always easy to unpick this, and in fact there is a couple of therapists who write on Quora, whose names I will also add when I remember them, who talk about, even though they've got decades of experience of working with clients who have either been on the receiving end, or where it's been a toxic pair, or the partner is toxic and abusive and utilizes all of these different behaviors, say that you can often need decades of experience to be able to really identify what's going on in a relationship. But fundamentally, my message always to people is learn to work out what feels right for you. And if something feels wrong in an instant, it usually is. Usually our intuition and insight is telling us way more than we will trust. But it's our past experience, family experiences, culture, and the narrative we have around relationships that can create a little bit of a fog and lead us to sometimes giving too much time and attention when we should really just walk away and focus on ourselves. Of course, it becomes more difficult when children are involved. So I'm even more keen to help young women and men think about what happens if we have sex too early and we don't really know the person that we're getting involved with. Although I have to say, many of the women that came through my project said everything was fine until they got pregnant. And that's often when things change, when the partner knows that you may be less likely to leave. So I'm not going to judge either way what your experience is, but I've got tools and information coming through that will help you consider where you are right now. If your health is suffering because of the amount of stress and challenges that you're being faced, that's certainly something to consider. Because I've come into contact with people that ended up with some serious health issues, heart, diabetes, mental health, and even ended up on drugs and alcohol because it was the only way to cope. So I'd really love it if people just really didn't end up down that road. But of course, many of us will. So hopefully that's helpful. Bye for now.